Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something big, China's massive bet on a whole new kind of engine, one that runs on zero carbon fuels. And trust me, this is way more than just another option next to electric cars. It's a huge strategic play that could change everything. So that's the big question, right? Everyone's talking about electric cars, and yet China is pouring billions into another internal combustion engine. It sounds a little counterintuitive, but they're convinced that fuels like hydrogen and ammonia are absolutely key to going green. So let's break down the thinking behind this massive bet. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at why they're even doing this. Then we'll dive into the master plan for 2040. After that, a quick reality check on where China stands today compared to everyone else. We'll also get into the specifics of their hydrogen and ammonia race. And finally, we'll talk about what it takes to actually build the whole system to support it. Okay, Section 1, the zero carbon engine bet. And the subtitle here says it all: more than an upgrade and national strategy. The first thing you've got to get is that this isn't just about tweaking an old engine. No way. This is a fundamental piece of China's entire national strategy for industry and energy. So this whole strategy really stands on three main pillars. First up is energy security. They want to cut down the reliance on imported oil and gas. The second piece is about giving their own massive engine industry a major upgrade, bringing it into the future. And third, it's a huge part of how they plan to hit their big dual carbon climate goals. All right, let's move on to Section 2, the 2040 Master Plan. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of their long-term game plan, a step-by-step path to go from where they are now to, hopefully, leading the world in this tech. Okay, so they've broken it down into three logical steps. Right now, up to 2030, it's all about getting the basics right, developing the tech, running small tests, that kind of thing. Then, from 2030 to 2035, the goal is to get the tech fully mature, bring the cost down, and start rolling it out. And by 2040, that's when they want to be the market leader, with the entire supply chain fully integrated. It's a really smart way to do it. You test the waters before you dive in. And these aren't just vague ideas. They have actual numbers attached. Look at this. By 2035, they're aiming for these new engines to be in 5% of all new hybrid cars. Now, that might not sound like a huge number, but think about it. It's their foot in the door. They're using the hybrid market as a launch pad. But here's where you really see the long-term ambition. For big trucks, we're talking heavy-duty commercial vehicles. The target is 15% of the market by 2040. And this makes so much sense because batteries just aren't great for long-haul trucking yet. The range, the weight, the charging times, it's a huge challenge. If they hit this target, it could completely change the game for the entire logistics industry. Okay, Section 3. We've seen the plan, we've seen the ambition, but where is China starting from? This is the reality check, China versus the rest of the world. When it comes to hydrogen engines, China is what you'd call a fast follower. They didn't invent the tech, but they are incredibly good at catching up. They're using their massive industrial power and government backing to close the gap on the pioneers. Countries like Germany, the US, and Japan. And they're doing it fast. Now, this table is super interesting. Take a look. You see Yuchai, a Chinese company with a thermal efficiency that's actually higher than competitors from the US and Germany. That's amazing, right? But, and this is a big but, look at the development stage column. They're still in the performance development phase. They haven't cracked mass production and reliability yet. So that's the real challenge. How do you go from a world-class prototype to something you can build millions of reliably? Now, ammonia engines? That's a whole different story. On one hand, China has a massive advantage because they're already the world's biggest producer of ammonia. That's huge. But on the other hand, the tech itself is tricky. Getting it to burn right, controlling the emissions, finding materials that don't corrode, these are serious hurdles. So for cars and trucks, it's still very, very early days. So that brings us to Section 4, the hydrogen and ammonia race. Because of all those different challenges, China is basically running two races at the same time, putting both hydrogen and ammonia on parallel tracks to see what works best. And they're being really smart about how they do it. It's all split by what kind of vehicle we're talking about. For passenger cars, it's all in on hydrogen. The goal there is maximum efficiency and almost zero emissions. But for the big commercial trucks, they're exploring both hydrogen and ammonia. Why? Because for those vehicles, it's all about raw power, being super durable and going the distance. Let's look at the plan for passenger cars. You can see a clear step-by-step improvement over time. Thermal efficiency keeps ticking up, the combustion technology gets more and more advanced, and, this is really critical, the way they store the hydrogen is set to evolve, going from compressed gas tanks to eventually liquid hydrogen. That last step is the key to getting the kind of driving range we're all used to. Now, for the big trucks, the most important thing isn't just efficiency, it's durability. I mean, these things have to run and run and run. Check out this B10 lifespan number. It basically means how many kilometers an engine can go before about 10% of them need a major repair. And look at the target. They want to go from 400,000 kilometers to 1,000,000. That kind of leap in reliability is an absolute must-have if you want trucking companies to actually buy them. The plan for ammonia engines is, well, a lot more experimental. You can tell it's still early days. They're starting with the basics, just trying to get the combustion right and then planning to move to more complex systems later. And see that bit about unconventional emissions? That's code for we still have a lot of work to do to figure out how to handle the weird stuff that comes out when you burn ammonia. Okay, last section, building the future ecosystem. Because let's be real, you can have the best engine in the world, but if there's no way to build it, fuel it, or fix it, it's just a museum piece. A great plan needs a great support system. So for this whole thing to actually work, it needs to be built on 5 key pillars. We're talking about deep collaboration between the government, universities, and companies. It's also about making sure this tech works alongside electric and fuel cell vehicles, not against them. It needs to be integrated into smart hybrid systems. And of course, it all has to tie back to helping the country meet its big climate goals. It's all about making sure this technology can actually survive and thrive in the real world. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, it becomes really clear. This is so much more than just a race to build a new engine. It's a cornerstone of China's entire long-term plan for its energy, its industry, and its future. And that leaves us with the billion-dollar question. China has always been a follower when it comes to the internal combustion engine. Now they've laid out this incredibly ambitious plan. So will it be enough? Is this the moment they leapfrog the old guard and become the new leader in how we power our vehicles? Honestly, we're just going to have to watch and see how it all plays out over the next decade.